Lurkers explores the dark side of the online world. It contains adult themes and disturbing content for mature audiences only.
It's late morning in Central Florida, where the heat sticks to the windows and the loudest things in the house are the air conditioner and a talk show no one's really watching. On the kitchen counter, a phone starts to buzz. Sharon doesn't think much of it until she glances at the screen. Same area code her daughter uses, same first few digits, close enough that her brain doesn't bother to run the whole number. She dries her hands and picks up the phone.
Hey, honey.
Her daughter's voice comes through sobbing and breathless.
Mom, I need you. Something bad happened.
Sharon freezes. It's not just that the voice is crying, it's how she's crying. The way the word mom cracks in the middle, the little gulp of air on the second please, the exact same sound she's heard from the backseat of a car, from a bedroom doorway, from the other end of this phone 100 times before. There's a part of her that doesn't run on logic. It runs on recognition. There's no question. April is in trouble. No matter what happens next, she'll do anything. Then, a man's voice slips in behind the sobs like it was waiting just off stage. He tells her not to hang up. He says there's been a serious car crash and her daughter is in trouble, that the police are involved. He says she's being held and that there's one way to fix this, and it has a price. Sharon doesn't know it yet, but this same kind of voice is already spilling into other rooms in other states, pushing other parents into the worst hour of their lives. But in reality, no one's being hurt at all. In a world where connection is effortless, every click feels safe. But online, trust can be deceiving. This is Lurkers. True stories of trust, desire, and how technology, if unchecked, can turn it all against us. Quick note, before we keep going, this story includes emotional distress, threats, and scams targeting families. There's no graphic physical violence, but the fear you'll hear is real. Just so you know, we're using pseudonyms to protect privacy. In Florida, we'll call the mother Sharon and her adult daughter April. Later, you'll hear from Jennifer and her teenage daughter Emily. But everything here is rooted in real incidents and public reporting. And guys, if after finishing the episode you realize someone you love would pick up a call like this and believe every word, consider sharing this with them. And if you want more stories like these, follow or subscribe to Lurkers and give us a quick review. It really helps us reach the right people and keep more voices heard. Okay, back to Florida. According to reporting from outlets including People, NBC affiliates, and Fox 13 Tampa Bay, Sharon lived in Hillsborough County, Florida, just outside of Tampa. Not the part tourists fly in for. Her neighborhood is more school buses and pickup trucks than hotels and roller coasters. She was a grandmother. Her days were built out of errands, phone calls, and checking in on the people she loved. Her adult daughter, April, worked in healthcare, Long shifts, tough patience, the kind of job where your phone stays charged and closed in case something goes wrong. On that morning, nothing about Sharon's routine felt like the beginning of a crime story. Dishes in the sink, daytime TV humming in the background, a mental grocery list. Then her phone buzzed on the counter with a number that looked close enough to April's that she answered without thinking. And you already heard what came next. After April pleaded, a man's voice slipped in, saying there had been a crash, that her daughter was in serious trouble, that the police were involved, and that he was an attorney. As per national coverage in The Independent, he sounded calm, professional even, like somebody who had dealt with families on the worst days of their lives and knew exactly how to talk them through it. He told Sharon that April had hit a pregnant woman in the accident who was in critical condition, and because of this, April was being held, and there was a judge. They only had a small window before the judge left for the day, and if Sharon moved quickly, her daughter could go home instead of sitting in a cell. He gave her a number, $15,000 in cash, no checks, no cards, no payment plan. He also told her not to call anyone else. There wasn't time. Any delay, he said, could ruin April's chances. In the background, Sharon still heard her daughter crying and apologizing. She later told reporters it was a perfect match for her daughter's real voice. So Sharon grabbed her keys, put the phone on speaker, and drove to the bank. The attorney stayed with her the whole way. He kept his tone steady and in control. He reminded her how serious the situation was, how quickly things could go bad if the judge left, how lucky April was to have someone like him on her side. As per the New York Post, he even told her not to explain the withdrawal to the bank, warning her it could affect her daughter's credit if she did. Inside the bank, Sharon stood in line with the phone pressed to her ear. Her heart was racing. Her mind was bouncing between numbers and the way she could pay, savings, retirement, what she could afford to lose and what she couldn't. When she reached the teller, she asked for $15,000 in cash. The teller counted the bills and handed them over. Sharon slipped the stack of cash into her purse, walked back out into the Florida heat, and drove home, still listening to the man in her ear, directing her every move. As described in cybersecurity write-ups from Malwarebytes and Bitdefender, once she was back at the house, she followed his instructions exactly. She placed the cash inside a box, closed it up, and waited. A short time later, a driver pulled up, came to her door, and took the box from her hands before walking away. With this, the money was gone, but the story wasn't. Sharon waited for the relief she had been promised, a call saying it had worked, that April was being released, that she could breathe again. Instead, the phone rang again. She answered. It was the same man. His voice sounded heavier now, like he was carrying bad news he didn't want to say. He told her the situation had changed. According to him, the pregnant woman had lost the baby. The family was furious. They wanted to sue for everything April had, and everything Sharon had. So Sharon grew desperate, and he offered a way out. If she could come up with another $30,000 cash today, the family would agree not to pursue a lawsuit. The man's tone was still calm, steady and firm. Of course, but there was a small gap now where doubt could sneak in. Sharon's grandson noticed it before she did. He saw the color drained from her face, heard enough of her side of the conversation to know something was badly wrong. According to People's interview with the family, Sharon and her grandson then called a close family friend, a person who wasn't caught in the same wave of panic, and that friend asked a question that cut straight through the story. Had she actually talked to April on her real number at her real job, the way she would on any normal day? Sharon realized she hadn't. She had heard what she believed was her daughter's voice. She had indeed heard her crying, apologizing, and in panic, but she hadn't called April's actual phone. She hadn't called her workplace. She hadn't checked anything outside the version of reality this caller had been building for her. Sharon hung up. Her hands were shaking as she scrolled to the contacts simply labeled April and pressed call. April picked up. She sounded normal. She was at work. There had been no car crash, no pregnant woman, no police, no holding cell, no judge about to walk out the door. Sharon started to cry, but in a very different way. Soul-breaking. Her entire life experience hadn't been enough to avoid it. After all, this level of trickery hadn't been around when she grew up. In a single phone call, she realized the only thing that had ever really been in danger was her. Yes, I know. Sharon's story made your stomach twist, didn't it? But sadly, hers wasn't the only one. In early 2023, about a year before Sharon's call, a mother in Arizona went through her own version of the same nightmare. According to national coverage from ABC News and later reporting in outlets like The Guardian, that mother was named Jennifer DeStefano, and her 15-year-old daughter was away on a school ski trip. We'll call them Jennifer and Emily, but what follows was drawn closely from Jennifer's interviews and her testimony to lawmakers. Emily was hours away in the mountains with her teammates. Jennifer was at her younger daughter's dance studio, one of those echoing spaces where music bled under the doors and parents half paid attention from the hallway, scrolling their phones and talking in low voices. Nothing about that afternoon looked like the start of the movie Ransom with Mel Gibson. No, seriously, I'm not joking. That was until Jennifer's phone lit up with a number she didn't recognize. On most days, she would have let it go, but with Emily out of town on a trip, there was a part of her that felt like she had to be on standby.
Hello?
You know, in case there was a twisted ankle or a bus breakdown, any small emergency that comes with sending your kid away. So she answered. She heard her daughter's voice, not just a word, not just a glitchy recording, but her daughter's voice sobbing and gasping.
Mom, I messed up.
The voice cracked exactly the way Emily's did when she cried. The breath between words, every detail felt surgically correct. Her brain didn't stop to analyze the connection or question the caller ID. It did what Sharon's had done in Florida. It leaped straight from sound to recognition. Then, another voice came on the line. A man, calm at first, then colder. As ABC and The Guardian later described it, he said he had Emily, and this was a kidnapping. If Jennifer told anyone, if she called the police, if she tried to get help, he would know and hurt her daughter. He laid it out in graphic detail. He promised to pump her full of drugs, to have his way with her, and then dump her in Mexico. If Jennifer didn't do exactly what he said, she would never see her daughter again. He wanted money, a lot of it. He started with $1 million. When Jennifer protested she didn't have that kind of money, he started bargaining, still talking about large sums, still insisting it had to be fast, untraceable, and under his control. Some reports say he eventually dropped the demand toward $50,000 in cash. This wasn't a bail story. This was a performance of terror. The whole time, the man kept Emily's voice in the background, crying and begging. Every time Jennifer tried to explain what she could or couldn't pay, he raised the stakes. He swore he knew where she lived, that he knew her family. He said he would kill Emily if she didn't cooperate. And her heart wasn't listening for flaws in the studio. It was locked on the sound of her terrified kid. So she started pacing the studio. She put the phone on mute and screamed for help. Other parents looked up and realized whatever was happening on that call, it was bad. Someone dialed 911. The dispatcher listened while Jennifer described what was happening, her daughter's voice, the man, the demands, the threats. On paper, it sounded like the worst kind of kidnapping. Then the dispatcher asked a question that, compared to everything else, sounded almost too simple. Had she actually spoken to her daughter, outside of this call, on her real number, on a separate line, through any channel that wasn't coming through this one voice? At first, it barely registered for Jennifer. Her whole body was locked on the phone in her hand. In her mind, her daughter was in absolute danger. Couldn't everyone hear her? But as more people around her tried to calm her down, the dispatcher pushed for something crucial: to call the people who were physically with Emily, the chaperones, the school, simply anyone who could put eyes on her. So, parents around Jennifer started dialing the numbers they had for the trip. And somewhere up on that mountain, another phone started to ring. According to ABC's reporting and local coverage from Arizona, the chaperones picked up and confirmed that Emily, Jennifer's real Emily, was fine. She was out on the slopes with her friends, completely unaware that hundreds of miles away, her mother was being held captive by a voice. No one had taken her. No one had even touched her. No one on that trip even knew the call was happening. Back at the dance studio, Jennifer's brain tried to hold both realities at once. The one with her daughter safe on a hill with skis, and the other where she was screaming for help in her ear. It was obvious one of them had to be a lie. The call didn't end with a trace or a SWAT team. The line just went dead. No door burst open. No kidnapper was dragged away. When Jennifer reported what had happened, it fell into a gray area because no money had ever been exchanged, and Emily had never been physically taken or harmed. Authorities treated the scam almost like a prank call. But for Jennifer, the emotional toll was anything but a prank. And what hit even harder was hearing it was probably AI copying her daughter's voice. Months afterward, she sat in front of a U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee and tried to explain what it felt like. In her written and spoken testimony, she revealed she had been completely convinced. She said she would have sworn on anything that it was her daughter on the line. The tone, the rhythm, the way she sounded when she was truly terrified, it all matched. She said she would never be able to shake that voice out of her mind, that it was her daughter's cries, her sobs, the way she spoke. Even knowing now that Emily had been safe the whole time, her body still reacted like she had lived through a real kidnapping. Sharon in Florida and Jennifer in Arizona never met. Their calls happened in different years, in different states, with different scripts, but both of them went through the same thing. A phone that rang, a voice that sounded exactly right, and a story that turned their lives upside down without anyone ever having to touch the people they loved. 2 different states, 2 different scripts, 1 accident, 1 kidnapping. But underneath Sharon's call in Florida and Jennifer's call in Arizona, the machinery looked eerily similar. Scammers don't need a Hollywood studio or some underground government lab to pull this off. According to cybersecurity analysts and law enforcement bulletins, they need 3 things: a little bit of your voice, a cheap AI tool, and a story designed to scare you into forgetting how to think by weaponizing a voice you love. Somewhere, at some point, April and Emily had spoken where other people could hear them. Maybe it was TikTok, an Instagram story, a school video, a podcast clip, a voicemail greeting, anything with a few clean seconds of their voice. AI and cybercrime researchers like Trend Micro, McAfee, and Bitdefender explain scammers today don't need hours of clean studio audio. In many cases, 10 or 15 seconds is enough to build a convincing clone. You feed that little strip of sound into an AI tool, something designed to help people record audiobooks, dub videos, or create accessibility voices. On the other end, you get something new back, a synthetic version of that voice, ready to say whatever you type. The FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center now warns that criminals are using AI-generated audio in vishing. Yes, you heard it right. VISHING. Vishing and extortion schemes. Phone scams that sound like someone you know asking for urgent help. They see it with fake bosses, fake coworkers, fake relatives, and even fake children in trouble. Their guidance is blunt. The voice on the line can't be your only proof anymore. Scammers spoof caller ID so the number looks local or close to one you recognize. They drop in a voice that sounds right. Then they wrap it all in a story that demands speed and secrecy. An accident, an arrest, a kidnapping, a medical emergency. Don't hang up. Don't tell anyone. Don't waste time checking. Just pay. That's the script. Federal advisories and police scam alerts describe it the same way, over and over. A call from an unknown or suspiciously familiar number. A voice that sounds exactly like someone you care about. A second voice that takes over. Calm. In control. Threatening. A demand for money through fast, hard-to-reverse channels, cash, wire transfers, gift cards, crypto, and a constant push to keep you isolated. Stay on the line. Don't call anyone. Don't hang up. Don't stop to think. In the Hillsborough case, the story took the shape of a car crash, a pregnant woman, and supposed bail money. In Arizona, it took the shape of a kidnapping and $1 million ransom. So because of this, the FBI, consumer protection agencies, and cyber experts all say the same thing. The first defense is to slow the moment down. They recommend things like hang up and call the person back on a number you already know. If they're supposed to be with a coach, a teacher, a friend, call that person too. Be suspicious of anyone demanding cash, wire transfers, gift cards, or crypto under extreme time pressure. and report these calls to local law enforcement and to IC3.gov, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, so they see the full pattern. Yes, all of the FBI tips sound clear enough on paper, reassuring even, if it still hasn't happened to you, but they still leave out what it actually feels like on the inside for victims like Sharon and Jennifer. And honestly, how much can authorities really do in a world built to stop perpetrators who leave evidence behind, when the whole point now is to leave nothing you can touch? I mean, just think about it for a second. I know, it's hard. It's unbelievable. There's no van, no rope, no blindfold, no fingerprints. Instead, the crime scene lives in burner phones and spoofed numbers, in AI tools that clone a voice in seconds, in apps and accounts that can vanish as fast as they're created. By the time you realize nothing you were told was real, most of the breadcrumbs are already gone. The hostage is you, your nervous system, your sense of reality, your ability to trust your own senses, your self-esteem, and the quiet picture you carry of yourself as a parent, a partner, a person who would just know if something was wrong. It's quite simply ludicrous. Scammers don't just go after your bank account. They go after the part of you that says, "I know my child's voice. I would know if it wasn't them." According to the families in these cases, that's the part that's hardest to get back. Sharon still talks about the moment she realized the voice she'd been hearing might never have belonged to April at all. And then is Jennifer, who told senators she still hears a voice in her head. The sobbing, the panic, even though she knows and can prove that Emily was safe on the slopes the entire time. It isn't just money that gets taken, or almost taken. It's that bedrock belief that if you pick up the phone and hear someone you love, it has to be them. And then, they're not. And your whole retirement is gone. So remember, they can fake a crisis. They can fake a confession. They can fake the way someone you love sounds when they're terrified. What they're really trying to steal first isn't your money. It's your reality. They break down your sense of what you know and who you are. In a world where voices can be copied in seconds, the only thing that still cuts through is the connection you make on purpose. The extra call, the knock on a door, the other set of eyes on the same story. Because the second you bring another mind, another phone, another reality into that call, the story they're trying to trap you in starts to fall apart. Stay aware, stay present, stay safe. This episode of Lurkers was written and story developed by me, Frank Battiston. Research by Christy Bowman. Production and sound design by Daniel Erdenevia. If this story shook you to your core, like it did us, share it with someone you love and tell them why. Your ratings and reviews help others discover these stories, and every share helps keep their voices alive. Follow Lurkers on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you'll be here for the next one. Thank you for listening.